Hello everybody, Navster here. Today I'm going to do a review of the new Guthook navigation app. So some basic things about the app before I get into actually showing a demo. The app's available on both iOS and Android, so regardless of the phone that you have, you can take advantage of it. To support all the information that I give you, if you go to the owner's website, it's Atlas Guides. You can find more information about the app there. Although the app is free, to buy a map that you want to use, a map for a specific trail, those do cost money. One good thing about this though is once you pay for a map within the app, you have lifetime purchases. So as they update information about that app, you'll get those updates automatically without having to do anything additional. So that's a big plus. Once you purchase and download an app and the information about that app, the app does work completely offline. So there's no data charges, you don't have to have cell turned on or anything like that. It uses GPS to track your location, which your phone does without using any cell connection or data connection. And I'll show more about that as I get into the app. A neat thing about the GPS functionality is that even though you have it on, when you're using the app, as soon as you close the app or lock your phone, it will stop using GPS. There's an exception to that, which I'll get to later, but generally speaking, when you close the app, it's using no tracking mechanism, no data, no cell service. So my experience with the app, when I started the Appalachian Trail, I took the AWOL guide, the printed version, fully bound version, and since I always have, I knew I was going to have my phone. I believe in compasses, I believe in printed maps and so on, but ultimately I also believe in taking my phone. The phone has helped save people in a lot of places, whether that's out on the trail, car wrecks in a remote area, whatever it might be. So it's smart to take your phone. You can also use it obviously for photos and videos and all those types of things. So if you're going to have it with you, even though the map does cost, as I mentioned before, and you'll see here in a sec that it's pretty useful, pretty intuitive. It has a ton of information that'll help you get down the trail. So let's get into looking at the new release of the Guthook app. So before I get into the app, a quick little trivia question for you guys. Do you know why the app is called Guthook? Leave your guesses down in the comments. We'll see what you guys come up with. So when you go into the app, it's going to go back, assuming you've already got a map purchased and loaded, it's going to go back to the same location that it was when you closed it. So if you haven't already created an account and bought a map, that's the first thing you're going to need to do. So you go into the menu in the bottom right, you click on the account button up at the top center, and here you'll see account information that you can set up. So this you'll need to do first. Here too you can put your photo and your screen name. Here in this case I've got my trail name, Navster. I think that's kind of neat to do, both the photo and the trail name. You'll see why in a second, kind of where it comes into play. But that's really the only couple things you need to do here. The next thing you need to do is go into settings. And here there's one key item that you'll need to set. There's several things you can kind of play around with once you get familiar with what the app does and how it functions. But the most important thing is the direction. So it says direction northbound for me. You can toggle that if you'd like to southbound. So what this impacts is mile marker distances. For example, if you're at Springer, it's going to show you at mile 0 instead of mile 2,191 or 92, I guess it is. So be sure to change that to whatever direction you're going to be going. I'll leave mine at northbound, and there's other international settings you can do here. Some settings related to how the elevation views look as far as the exaggeration. So just be sure to set that direction. I think it defaults to northbound. Then you need to buy the map that you want to use. So although the app is free, you still have to buy the map. So this select button that has the two boots on it, if you click on that, it's going to show you all of the different maps that are available. So these are for entire trails, and you'll see some of them are even international in New Zealand and Australia and so on. So each one of these, let's say if I click on the Florida National Scenic Trail, it shows you the sections for that trail. And so you can purchase each of those individually if you'd like for $4.99 or $2.99, $6.99, etc. Or you can purchase the entire trail all at one time. And in this case, the Florida Trail is $34.99. Now, if you bought an app in the App Store for $34.99, I agree that, that's very few people buy apps, I think, for costs like that. But you'll see here in a second that there's a tremendous amount of information within this app. And if you click on these little tool icon in the upper right, you'll see here that it says restore past purchases and check for updates. So let's say, for example, you've bought a map, you then upgrade your phone, you get a new phone and so on. That account information is pretty important. If you log back in with that same account information, you can restore all the trail maps that you've bought before. You also get all the updates free that I mentioned before, and so you can do check for updates at any time if you want to do that. If you've already purchased a map, like for me, I've purchased the Appalachian Trail map. So if I click on that, you see there's no prices. They just all show as open. Now, you see sometimes too at the bottom here, within one trail, they may list other side trails, and in this case, it lists Vermont's Long Trail. I have not purchased that section. When I purchased the Appalachian Trail map, I did it as an entire map, but it did not include the Vermont Long Trail. Sometimes when you buy a map, let me click on the Pacific Crest Trail map. So I have purchased this entire map. That's why they all say open for each of the different sections. And if you scroll down a little bit, you see here there's also the John Muir Trail, Mount Whitney Trail. So those are maps specific to those trails. That's not the PCT per se, but those were included when I bought it as a bundle. So just keep that in mind. If you buy the bundle, not only do you get a discounted price compared to buying each individually, but you do also get some of those side trails. So here, San Jacinto or Tahoe Rim Trail, you get some of the side trails included. So that's kind of neat. So I'm going to go into the Appalachian Trail map. I'm going to open the Springer to Standing Bear Farm map. So when that opens, this is the trail there. The trail is going to show in red. Any side trail is going to show in a different color other than red. You can see here at the beginning of the Appalachian Trail, there's a blue trail. Well, that's the approach trail that goes from Amicalola Falls State Park to Springer Mountain. And one thing that's new about this version of Guthook is the way they do the icons. They call them waypoints, but they group the waypoints by numbers. So that 2, for example, right there, if I zoom in on it, it's going to split into 2 different waypoint icons. There they are. So one of those is a trail junction, and one of them looks like it's a waterfall. So you can click on that. It's Long Creek Falls. So sometimes it was difficult in the older version because those icons would overlap each other and you couldn't tell, even when you zoomed in, if they were really close to each other, you couldn't tell what was there. Each icon, kind of relates to what it is. If it's a tent site, then you have a little picture of a tent. That right there is a road crossing. You saw the waterfall or the trail junction. If there's water source, there's this little water drop icon that you see here in the center, and they come in different forms. That one means that it's a pretty reliable water source, so it's a full water droplet. This one here, for example, shows half, so that means, like it says, it's a smaller stream. It may not be as reliable, so it's something you might want to check on. Every single marker shows not just kind of what it is, but also shows the mile marker. So this one's at mile 8.4 from Springer, because I have northbound selected, so it's 8.4 miles from the southern terminus. It'll show the elevation, so 2979 here. And if you click on these items, if there's information to display about it other than, in this case it's a small stream, not a whole lot of information to display, it'll display that. And it gives you some other features about where the next closest item is, here in the center of the screen, and then down below, comments from other hikers. Let me go do one other thing. I'm going to flip back to settings real quick. So after you have the map purchased using that select icon, what you then want to do is go into File Manager. So in File Manager, for whatever map that you have opened, you want to update it. So here you can see that that map has been updated on January 14th and March 4th of this year. You can click these little cycle icons and it'll say download the trails. There it's downloading. So that's to make sure that you have the most current trail information, the most current waypoint information. And if you want photos, then you can toggle the photo icon, download, and you can see there it's downloading all the photos. So this is what you're doing with the app while you're online. Obviously, to get the photos and the actual map, when you're purchasing that, you've got to be connected. So I'm connected right now. Now, once I've purchased the map, download the photos if you want to do that. If it takes up space as it shows there. But if you want to do that, once you get these things connected, you can disconnect. You don't have to have any cell service. Now, another important thing, in my opinion, to kind of download, if you've got the space, is the, I also call them the background maps. So these are the maps of the ground, right? So not the line of the trail, but the actual ground maps. And there's 3 different ones to choose from that you can download: topo maps, a geological survey national map, or a satellite map from the geological survey. If you use it connected and you don't want to use any of these 3 that were just downloaded, to your phone, you can also only use online maps. So in this case, if I select online maps, you'll see here that the background is basically like what Google Maps satellite view would look like. Okay, I could change that to geological survey satellite map. It's pretty similar to what an online map would be. You can see kind of the pixelation there. That's when it's loading the map that's on your phone. You could also use a topo map if you're familiar with those types of terrain features and maps on topo. I'm going to use the satellite map while we're doing this. And so at this point, now that I have everything purchased and downloaded, I can actually take my phone offline. So I've gone into airplane mode. I'm not connected in any way to the network, but I can still scroll around the map. I can zoom out, if you will. So for this entire section of the trail, I have everything all the way to Standing Bear Farm downloaded. This icon here looks like a building. This is Nils Gap. So you can see the photo. That's what the building looks like at Nil Gap. That's the Mountain Crossing store. And the photo's there because I chose to download it. And so you can scroll through any waypoint that has photos available. You'll see them here on this view. You can zoom in a little bit. That's the resupply spot at Mountain Crossing. That's all their gear and everything, right? Down here, it also has a section that shows you the next closest waypoint, water source, or lodging. So that's what the 3 icons here in the middle are. So this shows either southbound or northbound. So north of here, for example, the next lodging is 1.1 miles ahead of you. So if you click that 1.1, it's going to go to that next lodging place. So in this case, it's at Bull Gap. Looks like it's a tent place. Some pretty good flat tent spots there. It also has water at this tenting location. And it says there's space for lots of tents and a 0.2 mile side trail to a spring. So it's important as you go through this to kind of check to see, some of these springs or water sources a mile off trail or on trail, etc. And Guthooks will show you that information. So you can click Show on Map from this view, and it goes back to this overhead view. So there's the Bull Gap tent spot, and there's the side trail that's 0.2 miles off trail, and there's the spring. So if you go into that spring, you can see down here at the bottom that there's comments left for that spring. This is where, in my opinion, the trail name and your photo for your account comes into play. So this first comment where it says plenty of water, that was left by Bearbag. If Bearbag had a photo, it would also show next to, kind of in a pretty large fashion, but it'd show a photo of who Bearbag was. So in this case, this isn't a social media platform per se, but if individuals leave comments here on different waypoints, whether they get to a shelter or a tent place and so on, it creates a sense of community because you will know ultimately some of these hikers. It also shows off-trail items. So here you can see at the top of the screen, or kind of right there, is a camping location that's not on the trail. That's actually Vogel State Park. So you can click on that, and you can see that it has tenting there, it has showers, it has lodging like cabins and groceries. It gives you information about that, what times they're open, and some of the standard waypoint information below that. So the overhead view is one view of the map. Another view is the elevation view. So at the bottom, you can click elevation. And whatever area you're looking at on the overhead view is what you're going to see on the elevation view. So let me just kind of show you that. If I zoom in here and I only look at this section between, let's say, I'll put Blood Mountain on there. So on the far left where the 2 is, that's Blood Mountain. Then on the right where that 2 is, that's that Bull Gap location that we looked at, and we've got mountain crossings right in the middle. So if I go back to elevation, this is the same section of trail. At number 2 up here in the top left, if I click on that 2, there's 2 items there. That's Blood Mountain at an elevation of 4442, and there's a view there, obviously. And then at the bottom in the gap, that's Neal Gap, and that's where Mountain Crossings is. There's also some lodging there, Blood Mountain Cabins, which are pretty nice, by the way. Good pizza there. And then over here on the right, you've got Bull Gap. Okay, so you can flip back and forth between the 2 different views, and it keeps your orientation. On this view, you can zoom, of course. You can kind of see the relative elevation change as you go down the trail. At the top here, it shows you for what's on the screen what the total ascent and descent is, the length of that, and then the grade change. So if you zoom in, that information at the top will change. You see it just reset. So I'm going to try to get the north side of Blood Mountain on here. So if I just do that right there, that's the top of Blood Mountain down to Neal Gap. And so that is, you're going to go, assuming you're going northbound, you're going to go up 145 feet, which is probably that little section right there before the 2 on the top of Blood Mountain, and you're going to descend 1,355 feet, and that's over a distance of 2.6 miles. So that's a neat little tool just to kind of figure out, okay, if I want to go, from this location on the left to that location on the right, what am I going to be doing? That's 13.5 miles and 3,500 feet of climb, 3,200 of descent. Okay. Now, there's 1/3 view that you can, that's not as graphical. So this is the list view. And it's basically, as it sounds like, it's just a list of all the waypoints for this section of the trail. So you could go into camping and shelters, and it will start at the southernmost point, and it will list all of the camping and shelter options all the way down the trail. Okay. You could go into Devil's Kitchen, for example. There's the photo, the information. You could also click on all waypoints. And if you're looking for something in particular, so let's say I'm looking for Hiawassee. Did I spell this wrong? I did. I should know better. There we go. So Hiawassee, Georgia. Okay. It's off trail, but again, you click on it, it shows you all the services. And then look at that. You've even got some shuttle information, lots of shuttle information down here. Lyft and Uber information, budget in reviews. And if you want to know exactly where that is on the map, you just click show on map and it takes you right to it. There's all the different icons in Hiawassee. And if you scroll out far enough, you'll see where it comes into the trail. So there's the highway that your shuttle driver would have to go down either from Unicoi Gap, or it looks like they could also go from over here at Dix Creek Gap. So either of those gaps, you have roads that lead you back into Hiawassee. So it's a really great resource. That list view can allow you to, quickly get to something that you know the name of, but you don't necessarily know where it is on the map. The info menu, while it shows some general information, it also shows information specific to that section of the trail that you have loaded. So there's some general rules, like, let's see, in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, it tells you about the permits that you're going to need, where you can and cannot camp, information that, you can't take your dog through. If you have that section of the trail loaded, and let's say, for example, there's an aggressive bear in the Smokies, there will actually be a new section here that will be in bold that will have updates that are specific to, let's say, trail closures or avoid this shelter because of aggressive bear type things. So you'll have a notification icon on your info menu, and then you'll go in here and you'll be able to read what those items are. So of course, periodically, it's a good idea to, when you turn your phone on, to update information and open Guthook while you're connected and let it update any info alerts or trail updates, because you can always go back into your settings and update your files. Sometimes you'll go in here and do this, and you'll see that the date of the file will update from January 14th to something newer. So it's always smart to do. You can use this 100%. Everything you've seen so far, there's no connectivity that I've done after I downloaded the apps and went into airplane mode. So how do you use this for navigation? Well, GPS. So if you click that red GPS in the bottom right, if you click that, GPS is now turned on, and you get this little blue bullseye icon. If you click that, it shows you exactly where you are. So I'm not on the trail now, but once you do this, you can also share your location here. So with this icon on the right, if you click that icon, it's going to open up your share menu. And so you could, for example, text this to someone, and it'll show the picture and the information about exactly where you are, your grid coordinates, a link that will open up Google Maps and show them where you are. You probably also saw there that for sharing, you can share on Facebook. So it'll open up the Facebook share screen. Well, of course, you got to do this when you're connected, but you can see in the background there that it'll send a link that goes to Google Maps showing your location, and you can put in information about it. So when you're on trail and you have GPS turned on, scroll up here to get to North Georgia. Then when you click on a waypoint, it shows how far that waypoint is from where you currently are. So in this case, I'm not on the trail, but I'm 62.2 miles straight line distance from that viewpoint. And it's kind of neat, in this case, you can use that to kind of gauge where you want to go for the day. Let's say you're, at this campsite. Of course, you can always just do basic math and just subtract the, your mile marker. But it's something to quickly kind of give you an idea of how far away something might be. How far is the next water source? If you click on that, it's going to tell you, you're maybe 3.2 miles from that water source, type of thing. So pretty useful. And if you ever get to a spot, which happens to us all, if you ever get to a spot where you think, this doesn't really look like the trail, maybe I miss a turn or miss an intersection and so on. If you turn on the GPS and you see your location, if you're in the right spot, it will show you exactly on the trail. So it's very accurate. It shows you exactly on the trail where you are. So if you're off the trail a bit, I don't know that I ever remember seeing any time that I used GPS locating where, for some reason the trail line was not where it was supposed to be on the map type thing. It always showed me on the trail when I was on the trail. So it's pretty accurate. And, as I mentioned in the intro, that it doesn't use GPS when you're not using the app. So even if you have GPS turned on like that, if you close the app or lock your phone, it stops. So they're not going to drain your battery. while you're not using the app, kind of thing. So the button's there. If you go to the elevation view, it's still there. List view, they moved it actually. There you go. It's up at the top right in list view. Once you go into like that, okay. So in the older version, it was only on the overhead map view. So you had to go there to turn it on and then go into the other view. So it's nice that they've made it available on the other views. So with the GPS turned on, another thing that you can do too is you can record your path. So this, of course, is the only time that GPS will continue to track your location even when you close the app or lock your phone. So if you click record, you see now it says it's counting and it shows 0 feet. As you move down the trail, it will track what your route is. And when it does that, it saves it in this recordings folder. Nothing shows here because I didn't move anywhere on that recording. But you can do that, and then you can share those recordings. You can also create routes. So this is kind of neat. Let me turn GPS off. But you can create a new route. You come over here, hold your hand down on some spot on the map, and hold your finger down on some other point on the map, and now you have a route. Okay, so if that may be what you want to do for that day, and so you can put those pins out there. You can save that route if you want, or you can just look to see, in this case, kind of what your elevation change is going to be and how far you've got to go, how difficult of a day it might be. So you can save that if you want, or you can just close it out and it goes away. So routes, I don't know how much they're used. I may have used them just a couple times. Just some of the other features, like on your elevation change, where you can see that same information just by zooming in or out on the map, can become pretty useful. And they're quick, so you don't have to worry about creating your waypoints on your own custom route. So if you guys have any other kind of neat little tidbits of information that you want to know about, if you have questions, please ask those. Or if you've got information that I didn't cover that's good for folks to know, leave those in the comments. That would be much appreciated. So I hope this has been helpful to you. Please subscribe. If so, check that notification bell so you'll get updates. Share this with others that might need information about the Guthook app. Thanks for the time. I'll see you out there on the trail. Later.